Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time today to spend 1 hour with us. Today is a very special day for us because we are approaching the 5 years clinical anniversary of our TRI matrix implant. And we approach this special day with a great group of dear friends and leading clinicians who are joining us today here in this webinar. So today we are going to talk about the matrix implant. That is the world's first dental implant that has been specifically designed for the digital workflow to be used without an abutment, without a tie base, and without a multi-unit abutment. So our mission at TRI is really to help dental professionals to treat their patients faster, to treat them simpler, and to treat them better in terms of biology. Sometimes you also compare our matrix implant to the iPhone. It's not just an implant, but it comes with digital applications that really help you as clinicians to improve your digital workflows. We will see examples of this application, for instance, from Dr. Ivan Peev, the Teeth2Go solution to make the restoration before the surgery, or the scan bridge to scan the restoration. So we will see in your presentation a lot of these examples. And today we will not have time to talk about all the studies. We really want to talk to the clinicians who have been using this system from the very beginning for 5 years. And you can download all our studies. We have created a great amount of preclinical and clinical data. You can download it here because we will not have time in the webinar to talk about it all. Approaching a 5-year clinical milestone is also really great for us to look back. I remember in 2016, I was sitting here in this building in the office of Professor Ronald Jung, that was on the other side. And we were discussing together with Tobias Richter, our CFO and founder, what should we focus on in our future development as a dental implant manufacturer. And already back then, we walked out of this meeting and we said, let's look at the implant crown or the implant abutment interface. We started 40 years ago with external hex connection, then we went to internal connections, to conical connections. It was all 30 to 35 years ago. It was all connections designed for connecting a titanium abutment to a titanium implant. So we really said after this meeting almost 10 years ago, let's look at this implant interface and think about this implant interface on a white piece of paper from the scratch. How does it look like from a digital perspective? Today, we want to 3D print a crown, we want to mill a crown, we want to design it. And then it has actually taken us 4 years until exactly 5 years ago until we have developed the matrix implant and also got regulatory clearance for the matrix implant. And here you can see the speakers from the special event, the first doctors who trusted us and tested the matrix implant system and presented it to the world. So for me as an engineer, I'm super grateful and happy that we are still all together here after 5 years, looking back to the last 5 years and now seeing 5-year clinical follow-ups. So with this, I'm very happy to give the computer over to Professor Ronald Jung, who is sitting in my office. Ronald Jung doesn't need a lot of introduction. Many people know him from his research. He's the clinic director here at the University of Zurich. But of course, also a lot of people know him because he's serving as the EAO president and the global ITI president. So really, it's an incredible honor, Ronnie, for us to work with you, to be partners for the last 9 years, and looking back now on this incredible journey and talk about what we can do in the future. So thank you so much, Ronnie, and I'm very much looking forward to your presentation. Let me go over to your slides. Let's get it started. And here we are. Welcome and thank you so much, Ronnie.
Thank you so much, Sandro. I'm very thrilled that you feel so comfortable here. That he already said he's in his office, so it's actually still my office. But maybe this is I take over now that it's now my office becomes Sandro's office. So, dear friends, dear colleagues, a most wonderful good afternoon. I could not be more thrilled to have this event together because I think what unites us is really this passion for really making dentistry better. And we started a time which I consider is not just a development. It's, I would really say it's an evolution, what we have done over the, over the last years. I need to do it like this. Okay, good. So it's for me, not just a topic, it's an evolution which we all went through. And as Sandra actually very nicely said, we were kind of the ones which had the first trust into this new idea. Again, everybody was asking us, does it work? Does it not work? So we have to answer a lot of questions at that time. Also, people which were critical, which didn't believe in that, and we overcome this. And today, looking backwards now, 5 years, we have such another level of confidence and such another level of knowledge. And today, the aim is really to come and bring this evolution together and share these thoughts, this passion, and the clinical cases together. And for me, it's an evolution over not just the last 5 years, it actually goes even further back. And I wanted to show this evolution on the level of 3 patients, which were kind of, for me, iconic within this 5-year time period. Starting with the very first matrix single tooth implant in 2020 in a COVID time period, where I was asking Sandro to come over and bring me the TRI tray, which was not even at the clinic at that time point, to a patient which was the first, which we did then with the Scan and Smile initiative to really become even faster in terms of providing the patient with a smile and with a reconstruction, to the full edentulous cases and the full personalized workflow in more comprehensive cases in edentulous jaws. So this is kind of the journey I would like to take you with you. And this journey is not just a journey which is based on patient. Each of you had undergone this journey. Each of you had undergone his or her own evolution. And I think when I look back, for me, the iconic moments when it comes to educational events was my first international lecture on stage. I looked so innocent at that time in 2004 when I was invited at the International Osteology Symposium. And in the first row were sitting Jan Linde, Mariano Sanz, Klaus Lang, and all the big names there. I was thoroughly nervous. So this was my first experience. I would say I was passionate at that time. Then another highlight was for me the Europerion 2014 in London, which I consider myself as a very passionate lecturer. And today I see myself as an extremely passionate lecturer and really something which I believe every day that we do have the best job in the world. And I come to work every day with so much pleasure, and I hope I can share some of this excitement with all of you here. Now, this extremely passionate dentist had a dream. And this dream started as Sandro said, in 2016. And the dream was to have really an abutment-free, completely personalized solution. But we had no idea how to do this. And we were sitting together in the office first. This is now the picture we found. Tobias Richter, thank you very much, sent me this yesterday night. First, we wanted to get rid of the beers there because I thought it's maybe not serious enough, but maybe it shows the passion we had there. So this was one of the first meetings in 2016 where we were really thinking of how we can change dentistry in that way. So this dream turned out into a dream team. And I think now today we are in large dream team. And this was actually the time where we started to get rid of an abutment and get rid of a situation like this, because this is literally an interface between a titanium-based abutment and ceramic crown, 5 years in function. And when I imagine this gap being at the level of the most sensitive area of my implants, that really scares me. And this picture comes out of the study, which has been performed by Alexis Ioannidis at the University of Athens when he was there with Professor Iliadis. and where they did a thermomechanical loading and looked at the results after 5 years. And this is what we see here is right, this gap here in the lower right corner, that's what we see in a magnification there. So this was the driver to become more biologic and to become more personalized. And with that, we had then this first case, again, treating in 2020, which was also the kickoff of the first randomized controlled clinical trial, which is still ongoing, which many of you are also part of it, and which we could present the first year results in 2024 at the EEO as an abstract presented by Jenny Jerpe, one of our faculty members at the clinic, to look at now this crown, which was at the beginning for everybody which looked at that, there was a, can that work with that little ceramic insert there? And this was now the kind of the proof how to do this. And this led to this first case, which we remember very well, Sandro and I. Again, everybody was with masks in the clinic in the most strangest time period of our lives with the COVID time. And there I placed for the very first time a matrix implant. I have never done this before. This was actually not a patient case of mine. It was one of the postgraduate student, but the postgraduate student was sick, so she had COVID, and so I took over this case, and I wanted to do something different because I felt so bored doing just a molar in the lower mandible. And within just half an hour, we were then able to provide the patient with a provisional reconstruction, which was for me an unparalleled experience. I loved also the scanning abutment because that was also something which is very easy to handle, very easy to provide. And while somebody did the scan, I could already continue to treat another patient, and then the model went to the dental technician in our lab, to Andrea Patrizzi, the chief dental technician. And again, he had not seen the patient before. He just mirrored the tooth from the other side in order to make this happen. And then 1 hour later, I received then a crown, which I could screw in, and it felt so good. And I never had such a facilitated process as this one. So this was kind of the first engagement. And now the situation then 4 months later, I changed the crown here. We can also see very nice the soft tissue interface there. And we changed then to a final zirconia crown here. And this is the X-ray after this 4 months time period. And now this is the case 5 years down the road, the occlusal view, and a fantastic X-ray also when we look at the bone interface at the marginal level. So this was literally my first case in that series. Then we became a little bit more comprehensive. We could conclude in the 1 year follow-up that so far we haven't seen any difference towards titanium-based abutments or the new matrix implants in terms of technical complication, crown survival, and so on. So we really could confirm what we wanted to show, that it's a safe treatment, a reliable procedure, which we can count on also for the future. As you'll know, this study will go on up to 5-year result, but for a study that always takes longer than what we usually do. And then this is the next step then. So we started with very simple cases. Then the next step was obviously the immediacy part came into the topic. And the scan and smile concept started in 2023. And there I could treat this patient, which was the wife of a clinic director of the university hospital, which came with this fractured tooth. For all of you which are familiar with this, kind of the ideal case for an immediate implant, it's a case which is not in the center when it comes to aesthetic cases, but it's the best case to start with these things. So this is where we tested then the concept there. So extracting this tooth, a flapless procedure, placing the implant. I would recommend to do this with a guide, but everything had to go pretty fast, and therefore we didn't have a guide there. So this was then for the first time the proof how fast you can really be in terms of providing the patient with a temporary reconstruction. And this temporary reconstruction has then been replaced 2 months later by a final reconstruction, a zirconia crown here, which could be placed in this patient mouth thereafter. So this has been a concept which we were very proud of to really make the process even faster over the years. And this is then the 1.5-year result. And here we can even have then the 2-year result of this patient. Excellent soft tissue interface, excellent bone level at this place. A long implant because I had some difficulties to engage the implant at that time. But also here with the new implant, which is a little bit more engaging, it helps us, especially in these immediate implant cases, to get better engagement within the extraction socket. But again, a very big success and a process which was starting then to facilitate and bringing it more in a complete solution concept. And then this continues now in order to be able to, with this technique, to even go further when it comes to more complex cases. And here, a case of a very sympathetic patient, which has been treated by Ioannidis from our clinic, where a patient has a terminal dentition, and he has a fully edentulous case in the upper jaw and a partial denture in the lower jaw, where we can use now all the technology available. And again, the beauty of here is that we can stay in this full digital workflow, starting with the diagnostic part, with the data capturing at the first visit, with a facial scan, which we implemented in all the topics into this situation. Then using then the facial the intraoral scan with the planning and the diagnostics, bringing then these data files together. So opening a new area of digital dentistry as we haven't seen it before. Then continuing from the planning then into the lab in order to make then the lab diagnostics. And I'm a strong, you know me, the ones which know me closer, they know I'm very strong about that we should never start a patient case without ever having a physical mock-up or setup in the patient's mouth. What I call this is a touching communication. You can visualize everything also with augmented reality in a very nice way, but it never replaces the touching communication, and the patient needs to have it in his or her mouth. So this was then what we produced there over this digital pathway, ending up with a physical mock-up where the patient can really feel it. I think from the confidence point of view, that's unparalleled. So independent of how advanced we are in terms of digital technologies and visualization, it never replaces the physical mock-up. That's what I really want to strengthen a lot to that. So this is the physical mock-up, and you can already see in the patient's face and the eyes, that's what he wanted to. And that's the engagement we need for all these treatments. Then we can continue with the implant planning in this case, and then continuing in the dental clinic with the implant placement and the immediate provisionalization. Here, a case where we used the teeth first to better stabilize the stent in order to be able then to place the first implants, and then later on extracting then the remaining teeth and place the implants at the respective positions. I think if we can continue like this, this was then the case. And then again, the beauty of the matrix is that we can make this scan and provide the lab immediately with the information without any need for doing a printed model. So here again, the workflow, the guided surgery, which is very important for these edentulous cases, the planning beforehand, then the scanning part, and then the provisional reconstruction, which can really be produced in a time period which we couldn't imagine. When I started with immediate loading in 2004, 2005, that was a nightmare to get to this situation. That was a nightmare how much time we had to spend in order to get to this situation. And today we can just do this within such a short time period. So this was then the temporary reconstruction for this patient. And then we had changed this after 4 to 5 months to a zirconia-based bridge. Here, the beautiful ceramic done in our lab, and then providing the patient with the final zirconia reconstruction, as we can see it here. So this is how we, at the end, advanced. So what are the learning lessons out of this? Most important, and for me, always the part which have puts all the energy in my life is we can change patients' life. We do not just provide teeth. I always say I never treat teeth. I also don't treat missing teeth. I treat human beings, and we can change these lives. With this technology, we are able to overall, we can significantly reduce the treatment time, and we can significantly reduce treatment costs by facilitating this process. And at the end, we are just at the beginning. And for me, the limit is the sky. And I think that makes us so strong and so excited. And this, I would like to thank, on one hand, my team here in Zurich, an amazing team, which I'm proud on an everyday basis. And now I'm very excited to go into the other team, which I love so much, because you guys are really the first team starting with this adventure. And we'd like now to hand over then to Joel. Joel is an exceptional clinician from Portugal. He graduated at the Porto University in 2005, and he's the clinic director of his clinic in Portugal. And I often even took cases from Joel in my presentation, which I hardly ever do. But it shows that really Joel is a fantastic clinician, and I'm really excited and give now the stage to Joel for his experience over the next 5 years. So thank you very much, Joel, for your time.
Thank you, Ronnie, for your kind words. It's very nice to see you all again. And let me start sharing my screen. As a dentist, I always wanted my idea of my perspective of implant dentistry was always to be as fast, as efficient as possibly I could for that case. And even in situations such as these, where there's very or none keratinized tissue, I always wanted to do things if possible, in a single surgery. I never enjoyed the process of having multiple surgeries to the end result. And I always was thinking about ways of making life easier for the patient in first hand, but for us also. And always in the implant dentistry world, this was difficult to achieve. And that's the main thing from my understanding, that Matrix brought to the table. Now it's easier to get to results such as this in a single procedure and being very fast and very efficient. And all these situations that you're seeing, being a molar site, a lower lateral incisor, which is always tough due to the lack of space for tissue, for adding soft tissue, static zone with these central incisors, as you see here, and in full arch surgery as well. Like Ronnie said, we change the lives of our patients. The tremendous impact we have in their lives is remarkable. And that's the best of our professions, of our jobs, of what we chose to do as a living. We've all the years I've been doing implant dentistry since 2005, and we all had this abutment-based implant dentistry. It changed over the years. The connection stayed mostly the same, but materials were evolving, and we needed these middle guys, the titanium bases, in order to be able to restore our implants with the best material possible, zirconia. As you get to see in the schematics, when you select a tie basis, there's always a compromise. You need to create two gaps, one from the abutment to the implant level and one from the crown to the abutment. And we knew from the very early studies, in this case from Linkevicius, that we should maximize the exposure of zirconia to our peri-implant tissues, because by doing so, we create this concept of adherence zone. So by going inside with your zirconia, really well polished zirconia, inside the tissues, you create a better outcome for your restorations, because your soft tissues will be healthier, they will adapt much easier, and you will create this connection. We also knew that we needed roughly 4 millimeters of soft tissue height to get stable bone and to be able to shape this beautiful emergence profile. So we knew all these concepts that create this very clear definition of plaque zone and adherence zone. And the adherence zone is created exactly by this polished zirconia going inside your tissues up to your implant. And the plaque zone starts where the veneering or the layering of the crown begins. But by doing this, we always needed to select where to place our tie base, meaning the height. So if you think about emergence profiles, and if you take this classification of Gomez-Meda, you see that the beginning should be really straight, really thin, because you need space for all that peri-implant tissues to adapt and to have space for them to grow, and you have papilla, and you have all these beautiful profile created. Then comes the bonded zone where it's concave and the tissue go and touch there. And then comes the static zone, the convex part, where you create that plaque zone. Now, when doing this, it's always a fluid image that goes like this, depending on the tissue you're about to rehabilitate. This can be more difficult or easier. That's why most of the times you see this exemplified on molar side, because there's a lot of space to work with. But when you're talking about a lateral incise or lower central incises, the space really becomes narrow. And putting a tie basis in this equation is not easy. And then comes one thing that Ronald Jung already discussed, and I find this very interesting, because you need to select where to put the poison in. Meaning, you're doing a screw-retained restoration that's in fact a screw-cemented restoration. And you need to select where you're going to put that cement line. Now, you know from the studies that you should maximize the exposure of zirconia. For that, you should select a low tie base. But by doing so, you're also admitting that after 5 years, you get this poisoning of your cementation line deep down near to your connection. So it's the mix of these two problems that go in opposite ways that was always on my mind when rehabilitating my cases, in particular in a static zone. And if you look at this case, immediately when you start looking at a case like this, you start realizing the amount of difficulties you have here. And it's all math in your head. You need to select the right depth. You need to make sure you have enough soft tissue around your implants. You need to make sure you have prosthetic space and to make the zeniths in the right positioning. All start coming into mind. And as I said in the beginning, I like to do things in one surgery. So being able in one surgery to get to these results with PMMA restorations, with the perfect emergence profile that I selected for this patient, is quite outstanding in my book. And after 3 months, you are pleased with the result. You don't have to do anything except calling your lab and say, okay, pick up those designs and now send me the final restorations. And this is also very beautiful about this communication in between clinicians and laboratories, because when you're talking about digitalization, you work in layers, and these layers of information all get combined in the very big box of information that you can always use at whatever point. And this is way better and way easier than the old-fashioned way with casts and with models and everything. Now, these were the final restorations in placement day, and you can already see the improvements. But as I always say, the story doesn't end here. It's starting, because this is 3 months after the surgery. So tissues are not fully healed. Bone is not fully healed. This is not the end of the story. The story is just about to begin. You just placed what you know will have a tremendous impact in soft tissues. You just placed these beautiful zirconia restorations that are going inside your tissues, and they bring a new information to the table. So tissues will react, will adapt. And after 5 years, you get to see here the results of this same case. And you can see even, it's not a particular obedient patient. The hygiene is not perfect, far from it. I recalled her for the 5-year follow-up, and she came like you see here. But the soft tissue surrounding these implant crowns look thick and beautiful. If you look at the 21, and you remember that big depression that was there, both vertically and horizontal, look at the soft tissue that we have now. And this is very important to me, because a lot of this has to do with this matrix implant and this clever connection that allows you to go to the implant level and be even more precise with these zirconia crowns. The fit is more precise than the traditional titanium abutments you can buy from every different brand. Then the emergence profile is exactly what you intended to, and all the right inputs given to tissue come up to this result. So that for me is what drives me. And obviously, like Ronnie said, the applications go from single crowns, as you just saw, to full arch restorations. And in full arch, when we deal with situations such as these, I always try to take advantage of the information I already had. So this was the denture that the patient came to me, and I immediately didn't like it. I thought it was too bulky for a face. I much prefer the smile without teeth, how the tissues were, than that bulkiness of the prosthesis that the patient had. So all of these can be combined in the CBCT scan. You can do it also, the CBCT scan, with the provisional restoration, the provisional prosthesis in place. Those small dots there allows us to understand DVO and where the zeniths were. And via software, you can work all of this in order to create a planning for your surgery and for your provisional restorations. In this case, we went flapless in the upper jaw with guides, pilot guided surgery. I still enjoy very much pilot guided surgery to this day. It offers some advantages compared to fully guided surgery. I prefer both depending on the case, but I still think there's great value of doing pilot guided surgery, but that's a different topic for another time. And this was the patient.
Joel,
Yes.
I'm really sorry to play the timekeeper here. It would be great if you could try to finalize your presentation in a couple of minutes, because
I'm closing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, don't worry. So after 4 months with this communication, you can go directly to the final monolithic restoration if you don't have any more input to give. But if you do have some inputs to give, it's very easy to do so because you have all the layers of information like I just discussed. Very importantly, and this is a highlight I would like to give you, this changed my perspective of full arch surgery. This is the soft tissue situation in the lower jaw after 5 years in function. And what I can tell you is that as we have these very big screws and we maximize this exposure of zirconia to the soft tissues, again, we get not only very stable bone, but very adapted tissues, which is always very tricky to do with multi-unit abutments, particularly in lower jaw. And the last thing I want to tell you is about the space that we don't need all that much space nowadays, which is particularly important in FP1 approaches because of this very clever screw, very long screw sitting on top of our implant. And you can see on the image on the right that the screw is much bigger than the traditional screw for multi-unit abutments. And it's this engaging of the screw and this stretching of the screw with very high torques that allows us not to have unscrewing of these restorations. So whenever I check the torque each year of my cases of full arch surgery done with matrix, there's no unscrewing, and that is quite remarkable. In FP1 approaches, even more so. So that's my message to you all, is that this technology is helping us not only preparing our cases, being fast and efficient, but also in our maintenance and follow-up that often gets neglected because our tissues respond better and we don't have unscrewings of this very big and strong screw with high torques. So thank you. That this was my message to you all after these 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel, for these very nice cases and your passion for that. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I think now we're going to go back to our regular schedules. I would like to kindly ask Ivan to prepare his slides and share the screen. Joel, you need to, I think, share the screen.
Yes, I'm doing that right now.
Perfect. And then Ivan can share the screen. So Ivan Peev, he is also an exceptional clinician and person and friend. He graduated in 2011 from the Medical University in Varna in Bulgaria. And he's currently the Chief Implantologist and Innovation Director of Dentistry, which is the biggest European clinic for implant clinic. and he has extensive experience in implants. And we are very thrilled to listen to you, Ivan, about your experience and your passion within the last 5 years. You need to unmute you first.
Thank you very much, Ronnie, for your kind words. You're able to see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you again. So, guys, 5 years after, what kind of amazing experience. We treated 5 years ago a patient with a total mouth rehabilitation, which was edentulous in the upper and final dentition in the lower. I love also this kind of guides like Joel for the pilot drill. I use it here for the twist drill. In this way, I have the position, the depth, and the direction for the future implants that we continued. We continued the operation in a conventional way because we should do some bone graft. But on this time, I was using the bone level implants because I never touched tissue level. And I didn't trust it so much. So this was the occlusal rim that we used at this time, and the provisional construction, which was ready approximately 1 hour after the operation. Patient was sitting still on the chair, that we could insert the both constructions in the mouth and just finally adjust the occlusion. It was amazing result for this time, yes. And this is the post-operative X-ray. We should replace 2 of the implants because the construction get loose, but it's our fault. We didn't follow the recommendations of the producer. We didn't tie the screw so much, and when the patient came after 3 months, the construction was loose and only 2 implants was also loose. We left with 5 implants at the end, and this is the X-ray 3 years after. Even if we have monolithic zirconia construction over those implants, even if we have such kind of long cantilevers, also 3 bridge bodies together, we didn't have any problems with tight screw loosening or breakage of the construction or bone loss. So patient wasn't so pretty like a hygiene type. He didn't clean properly. He's still, after the cleaning, you still are able to see that these stems of nicotine between the soft tissue and the construction. He smokes a lot, but any change during the years. These are pictures from the last week. He came again with very nice soft tissue adaptation without any problems, without any results of bone loss, which was amazing results for the 5 years. This is the situation 2 weeks after this moment, before this moment, yeah. And we're thankful to be able to use this kind of implants, which are giving us a great opportunity. Nowadays, we are more concentrated, more focused on FP1 solutions, and the matrix implants are pretty helpful also, like cases like this from total edentulous. We're using similar kind of this time, this is maybe 2 years ago, similar kind of drill guide also for the pilot drills. But here we didn't open the soft tissue. It was only for the like a punch technique. These are some non-engagement tubes, and even if we speak about solution without multi-units, here in this case I use it just for showing a possibility. If you have too big angulation, like more than 30 degree, and your milling machine is not able to produce, you are tricky to get the possibility for more parallelity also with the abutments which are 30 degree. The scanner after the operation and the insertion of provisional bridge. If you see the result after the insertion, and here is the maturating of the soft tissue, we get a nice profile of the soft tissue adapted to the construction, and this is the end result for this guy. So from edentulous to FP1. Another case, it was done in the course here that we did the last year with Holger together. We used here already some smile design to show the possibilities to produce the productability of the final construction. In this case, I decided, this is different types of possibilities that we prefer for insertion of implants for all 6 construction. They are the most common. In this case, I decided to keep the canines, like partial root extraction, partial extraction therapy, and to keep this fine, nice profile for the soft tissue. And this is the result. You are able to see the canines inside on the mouth. They're still helping us to keep the arch, to keep the soft tissue adaptation after the healing period, and the final result for this guy also with the big help of matrix implant system. Another case, also FP1, more more complex, difficult bite, abrasion. We should increase also the bite height. And if you take a look on this pyramid form of the palate, here I used different kinds of techniques, also partial extraction therapy, socket shield preservation, connective tissue, in order to give it back the arch design of this form. And this is the result one day after, also with help of a lot of PRF. The provisional bridge, here we used angulated screw channels for 2.6 screws, and one of them was only 2.8. The recommendation is as much as possible to be used 2.8 screw, the long screw, which is the most reliable in the system. The lower jaw was done, also the help with the scan bridges, and this is the insertion of the implants on the next day. So the provisionals on the next day. This is the maturing of the of the soft tissue, the control X-ray, and the final construction for this guy. Happy new life. So the most modern type of the innovation technology from TRI, my friend Sandro came to show me this this approach. We did the first case for a full arch. This is stackable guide with already prepared construction with some innovations also from our side. The construction itself with the special tubes, which are the channels for the screw. We will show you also from the other side that they are angulated, and the basics of the basis of our guide. We love to use the magnet holders. These are the sleeveless parts, and the prosthetical guidement for the stabilization of the the base. So you are able to see here we used the tooth segmentation, the digital removing of the teeth, to use the alveolus for additional stabilization of this part of the stackable guide. This is the case. We treated in this operation only the upper jaw. The removing of the teeth as much as possible, atraumatic, to get the profile of the bone untouched. So first, the patient is biting over this part, and then we are stabilize or fixating with the pins the basis of the drill guide. After that, we are not needing anymore the prosthetical guidement, and we took the part for the implant insertion with the sleeves. After the implant insertion, the bridge was fitted over the implants. You are able to see now how much angulation we are able to produce for our tubes, depending of the situation of the arch of the teeth that we wanted to replace. With the printed technology, we are able to produce a very big angulation for our screws, and they are with the round screwdriver, the 2.6 screws inserted during the fixation of the of the bridge. After the cutting, the supports, the fitting the bite is already done before the insertion. So we get a nice result just after the operation. I will during the polishment of the bridge, I did the scanning. I did the scanning because at the time we had only these colors, which are B1, bleaching one. I wasn't sure that the patient will like the color. So for any case, I did also the scanner, because if the patient decide I didn't like this bridge or didn't like this color, or the bridge is broken, I have already the scanner. So the patient should come only for the insertion, not those scan again. This find it practical. I insert here some soft tissue, pull the soft tissue over it in order to correct the recessions. This is the result 2 weeks after 2 months. The surgery wasn't successful on the 100%. That's the point. I added a little bit material on the crown of 1-1 and prosthetically make the equalize the zeniths of the two central incisors. So this is the result that we have 6 months after the insertion, and the happy patient still in this patient is still in progress to the end. Good. Thank you for your attention. I try to be as quick as possible.
Thank you so much, Ivan, for really these amazing cases. And I was especially impressed by your first case, or one of the first cases where really you pushed the borders there really heavily. I assume that Sandro didn't sleep well after that. We're seeing the extensions and the cantilevers. So, but amazing case. Thank you so much, Ivan, for doing this. So now I'm very thrilled to continue with Andrea Agnini. Andrea is also an exceptional clinician from Italy. He graduated in 2007 from the University of Modena in Italy, and he's the founder and director of the Digital Dental Revolution Education in Italy. And Andrea, I'm always impressed also by your clinical abilities, but also the way you present your slides are always very nice and aesthetic. So we are looking forward to your presentation. And again, also try to remind everybody to stay to the time limit, because we have just what we have available. So please, the stage is yours, Andrea.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. These words coming from you means a lot to me, but to my brother as well, because we are always a team. And in my 8 minutes, what I want to try is to share the experience that we had, of course, with the Matrix. That is, we were one of the, together with you and all these guys that are presenting today, the pioneers on these implants. But what I would like really to highlight is how does the Matrix is incorporating into the digital workflow, because I think that we have seen so many nice cases with the colleagues before, and the point is, okay, the Matrix is a great implant, but the Matrix, I believe, it should be seen as in a bigger picture. It should be perfectly embedded in what I like to call the digital implant revolution, because nowadays, especially in the implant market, not every implant can be like named as a disruptive technology. There is nothing. I mean, there are many changes, some innovations, but a disruptive technology such as Matrix, I believe it's something that was something that we really needed 5 years ago, and because we wanted to embed it in this big picture of digital dentistry, and especially digital implant dentistry. And when we talk about digital implant dentistry, what we like to see and what we like to offer to our patient is like improving quality, decreasing time, reducing the cost, but most importantly, increasing the patient comfort. And right now we are living in a era of like dentistry in where patients are always in a hurry. I don't know about you in Switzerland, but here in Italy, the less time the less appointments we are able to offer to our patient, the more they are happy, because they are always like in a hurry and they don't have time like to spend in a dental chair. So digital implant dentistry can help like in all these four of in all these four goals. And the digital workflow is all about creating new digital planning, new digital workflow, which are smart, simple, and predictable. And we had back before the matrix, we had this workflow, which was including type basis, which was including also what? Which was including monolithic material. For me, as I said, I want to try to give like the big picture perspective of why matrix has been a game changer in our practice, because before the matrix, we already had the monolithic materials. We had for sure great tools that were working, because these were the workflow key points before the matrix, in where we had to use like type basis, in where we had like to add like 7 steps, and each of these steps were like as an intrinsic error. And type bases are for sure great, and were for sure great, but they had several limitations. We had limited design flexibility, aesthetic disadvantages, we have risk of inflammation, debonding to the cementation, and also, of course, we were implementing like the cost, because we needed to have like T-base for provisionals and T-base for final restoration. And when the matrix, when Tobias and Sandro and Olger offer us the matrix, for us was really like a kind of disruptive way of thinking, because really we were able to see that we were able to bring down on a larger perspective the average mistakes, the potential mistakes that we were doing in every single case of what we were doing, not only on full arches, from single crowns to full arches, so in the biggest majority of our clinical cases. And by removing the T-bases, by removing the need of like producing a model, and by removing the need of cementing the T-base either on the model or in the hand, we were decreasing the potential mistake by 73%. And this is why we really started to test and drive and utilize in every clinical patient the matrix. We started with the bone level, with the tissue level, and we were implementing these tools into our digital workflow. We had the scan body, and we were like studying also the kind of scan body, because remember, it's not only like the implant, but it's the implant, it's the scan body, and it's the full workflow that was working. And this was really one of the very first case that we were doing with the matrix, and we were immediately impressed by like the quality of the soft tissue that we were seeing immediately, but also little by little in the long-term follow-ups. And so this was really what was impressing us, and this was really what was impressing also our lab technician, which is Pier Francesco Golfarelli, which I want to publicly thank, because I know also Sandro probably would like to do that, because he worked hard with us in creating like the proper milling strategy to design this connection to treat properly the zirconia. And what we were seeing is that right away we had an improved aesthetic, an improved quality, ultimate simplicity, because for us technology is a simplification, and we were able like to save time and to save material. And then while we were utilizing these implants, we really fell in love with the tissue level matrix, because I believe that this tissue level, which is like a great experience, because gives you the opportunity really to properly manage the soft tissue, to properly offer us versatility in the management. And that is why one of the very first cases that we have tried to work with was an interdisciplinary treatment plan case, in where we had perio, implant, and pros in this perio patient. And you see here very quickly what was done, like the resectomy, the osteoresective surgery, and then of course the implant placement. And you see this is the tissue level that was placed. And you see here that on the contralateral side we were testing tissue level and bone level, and what we have seen is that the level of like healing that we have, and you can see here, you can appreciate at the moment of the final impression, you can appreciate the soft tissue quality around the teeth and the implant. You see here the digital scan protocol. So you see that perfectly we were able to do what? We were able to embed the matrix into our digital workflow. We had like the scan body that was working properly. So not only the implant, but also the prosthetic components that were coming out from the matrix system was absolutely perfect. And so this is Pier Francesco that is working in the CAD for the best fit of the position and then finalizing the crown. You can appreciate the design of the final crowns, and you can appreciate that he was really able like to create a nice shape, nice final restoration that was the final delivery day. And this case we basically kept evaluating this case over the years, and here we have like the 5 years follow-up of the patient that just this Monday came to the office, and you can appreciate the stability of the bone and the quality of the soft tissue around the tissue level. Moreover, little by little, we were able to implement the tissue level experience into the guided surgery. Also here we have another perio profile patient in way that she lost, unfortunately, the central incisor. And once again, we embedded the matrix experience in the full digital workflow. So we utilize the guided surgery approach that we have through the X-Guide to the matrix guided surgery kit, and you can appreciate the before and after of the situation in where we were able really to utilize all the guided surgery workflow of the matrix. Moreover, what we like to utilize is also like utilize 3D printing, and so we keep utilizing right now tissue level for us. The matrix tissue level for us is the first call from single cases to full arches, and also we utilize it through the scanning an hour with the 3D printing help. In this case, for example, you see that we placed these 2 implants and we were able to incorporate in a full digital workflow in the exocad CAD protocol, and we were able to do what? To utilize the sprint ray connection that matrix has to deliver an immediate provisional restoration after basically 1 hour of in where the implant was inserted. So you can see, I mean, what we wanted to share today was really how we were able to embed the matrix, the concept of the matrix in our digital clinical routine. And what we like to see is that thanks to this, we were able to shorten the number of appointments from like, in this case, of course, let's focus on the implant numbers of appointment, that we were able to bring it down from on average of like 8 appointments from A to Z, basically to 3, 4 number appointment to close the case. And what we were seeing as well, that not only we had less appointment, but these appointments were also shorter. So really we were able to do what? We were able to save time, we were able to implement the quality of the restoration, giving a long-term follow-ups because the soft tissue was perfectly healing all around. The bone was perfectly healing all around, and this was like also seen by our team, because we really believe that also your team should be part of this digital revolution that is happening in every hour in every office in the world. And the matrix is really one of the pillars of these disruptive technology, because really the matrix is not only on an implant for us, but is really a concept that really changed the way we are looking at the digital implant workflow. And I just would like to thank, I know that I ran, but I wanted to give like the overview and the follow-ups that we have. Of course, I could have shown like full arch cases, other cases that we have done with the matrix, but for me the most important thing was to let you understand why should you think about the matrix. It's not only an implant, it's really a concept that perfectly embed into the digital implant workflow. And we were lucky enough to be writing a book while the matrix came out. And so in our book, in chapter 6, if you are interested, you can see the full concept of the matrix explained in details. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for this again very beautiful lecture. I love your style very much, and what I also love is that it's not an implant. It's a concept, and I think that is what we all feel about, because it comes with just a change of the platform, so to say, but it has so much impact before the surgery and after surgery and in the long-term maintenance. So thank you very much for these very interesting insights. Maybe you can unshare. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm really excited, and also the different presentation, they really complete each other in its way, so it's very nice. So now it's Mark, I think you're too exact.
It's my. Do you still have time for me?
No, but first I think we will have Alex.
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
We will have all time for you. We save Marco for the last part. So Alex, are
Sorry.
you able to share the screen? I know time-wise you would be
Yes,
there.
hello.
We have decided that we will skip the panel discussion and we'll focus on your great presentations. Now I'm happy to introduce Ionescu. He's also a fantastic clinician, and he just I've just heard that you had yesterday accepted your very important scientific work in terms of the matrix. So you will definitely touch that in your presentation. Alex graduated at the University of Bucharest in 2001. He's the co-founder of Quintessence International in Romania, and he is the director of the Aesthetic One Dental Clinic in Bucharest. And he also is one of the first one which really engaged so much into the matrix implant. And now we are really excited to look at your cases. Do you find your way how to share your screen?
It looks like, okay. Let me see if it's working. Can you see?
Yes, it looks good. Yes, perfect.
Good. So first of all, I would like to say hello to everybody. And it's a great pleasure for me to be here again with you after 5 years. I'm going to share my vision because I think 7 years ago, if someone would have asked me about my opinion about digital dentistry, I would have said that I should still wait for some time. But that time came a few years ago, and this changed quite significantly my everyday practice in terms of oral implantology, and not only. So, what if biology could be mimicked by dental implants? We had this question in mind when we started with biological approach 17 years ago, using the tissue level, the classical tissue level implants. And since then, to be honest, I only used tissue level implants from the classical ones, and now in the last 5 years, we switched to the metrics. And I'm going to share with you my vision about the single implants, because everybody else is doing now all on X, and we started doing as well. And I still need to get some updated know-how about this, but I'm going to share with you this particular nice cases that we would like to do in our every Monday morning. So how should I start about this? Regarding the surgical protocol, the paradigm shift. We had the traditional surgery that relied on direct visibility. We tried to be as much as possible go to the flapless zone, and we did this in a free-handed era, and now we can rely on the precision that we get from the digital workflows. But what about the implant concept? Can we have a paradigm shift with that? And the answer was with metrics that came 5 years ago when we first started with this abutment-free restoration for personalized aesthetic and functional treatments. We were a little bit skeptical about the durability of the connection, but after 5 years, I can tell you now that we are 100%, let's say, involved in this approach. And we had the precision that we can achieve with a full digital workflow. And we had this excellent biological integration for both soft tissue and the hard tissues. And I'm going to start my presentation with the oldest case that we did. And this is the evolution from my point of view. This is a drawing, so excuse my drawing talent. when we started 5 years ago, the evolution of the tissue level implant connections, I believe that the golden standard was the cemented crown directly on the implant shoulder, and then we went through different type of titanium based, and then we arrived to the point when we had this actual golden standard that we have the direct connection inside the implant, and we can really replicate the emergency profile of the natural dentition. So going back to our first case, and we did the backward planning in terms that we scanned the case before having the extraction. The patient was 77 years at that time. We had to extract this premolar, and we did it in using only the pilot drill. At that time, it was the only possibility from TRI, and this was actually our first matrix that we inserted. You are going to see in our case that we do our open healing biological concept in pretty much all the cases that we do in immediate placement. So we fulfill with BIOS and BioGuide, and then we just have these, let's say, biological healings. We scanned the case during the surgery, and what we did was we replicated the emergency profile of the extracted tooth such as we can have during the healing period to have the same biological aspects of that. So this was our customized healing abutment at that time in 2020, and this is how it healed. And again, when we came to the point of replacing the tooth with a final restoration, then we used again the initial scanning to just replicate even the abrasion planes. At that time, we did not have available the angulated channel, so we had to rely on the fact that we did the implant in the most, let's say, accurate position for this type of. And you can see how nice the emergency profile of this restoration is. Now, this is the final case at that time, and here is an X-ray after we finished the case, and you can see nearby is a TRI Octa. It's a classical tissue level implant that has a bridge cemented on that implant. And again, a picture with crown and the emergency profile of that, and a final restoration in situ. So this is 1 year follow-up for the metrics, and this is the 5 years follow-up. Meanwhile, the patient is 81 years old. You can see how nice we have the profile of the soft tissue after all these years and after a flapless approach. And this is the X-ray of the 5 years follow-up. And another case that we did 5 years ago at that time, again with a pilot drilling, and we had a case to restore in an aesthetic way of a young lady that you are going to see. We used our same protocol of open healing around the implant with the BIOS and BioGuide. And this was the CBCT after the surgery. And this is our crown that we loaded, and this is how it looked at the time. The full rehabilitation and 2 years follow-up. You can see the bone margin, it's very stable, and the 5 years follow-up. So the patient is happy after 5 years. We are happy. She is only coming quite seldom, unfortunately. But as Joel said, we have this time with our patients, and she is very busy creating other emotions to other people. Now, going to a more recent case in a similar way as the one that you saw before, it was our first case when we used that Star Wars fully guided Star Wars, because this is the X-Wing approach. of the design when we first started the fully guided protocols. And this is how we, let's say, mixed again our open healing concept together with gadgets that we got from TRI. And you can see here that we printed some of these healing colors, and we adapted one such as we had the opportunity to still be in the minimal invasive flapless approach and without losing any more time on doing provisional. And this is the X-ray before and after. And we got the courage now to use the layered ceramic for high aesthetics, and you will see that this is not a monolithic crown. It's layered ceramic. You can see it here on the X-ray. And this is the follow-up case, the follow-up picture of this case, and you can see the nice outcome of the both soft tissue and the bone. And yes, as Ronnie said, 3 days ago we got the confirmation from International Journal of Oral and Maxillofacial Implants with our first publication that was accepted, and I'm really happy for that. And thank you all for your support. And my last case is how I switched from analog to digital. You can see how we did it in 2018. It was a flapless approach, free-handed in aesthetic zone with a tissue level implant. And then after 5 years with a matrix full digital case that we did in the same patient in a lateral incisor. And now we had all the, let's say, gadgets to design, copy the extracted tooth, design it, and then print it with our new printer that we have for chairside use. And this is the case with immediate loading. And also, nice thing, how we did the shades in 2018 and how we are doing the shades nowadays with a digital approach. And of course, instead of using the Facebook and our classical approach, we are now using for these cases, we are using the Zebris for occlusal analysis. And this is a comparison between, and you can see here the emergency profile of the cemented crown on the tissue level implant from 2018 and a similar, very nice, supernatural emergency profile of the lateral incisor that we did on the matrix. And this is the case that we finalized. Of course, we could do other things to improve her smile, but this is how everything healed around our tissue level implants. Remember that we have on the aesthetic zone, both of the implants are tissue level. One is a matrix, one is the old one, classical. But of course, as everybody is showing nowadays, we also do today some all on X cases, and we are very happy that with the matrix, I think this is the best, I don't know what to say, approach that can be done, and we can have happy patients with this type of approach, and we would like to develop a little more this concept, and I will probably come with more information in our next meeting. We do all these things chairside, and the results are quite good. And this is part of my team, and with one of the happy patients. Ivan, you met 2 of the doctors last week in Varna. And as a message, trust your medical skills and use technology, but don't let yourself driven by it. So with this, I would like to thank you. Keep it simple, think biological, and I hope to see you physically, all of you again soon. Thank you very much.
Great presentation. Thank you so much, Alex, for this very great presentation. And you can be very proud also on your scientific part, which you did. So congratulations on that. I really loved your approach and how you also evolved over these things. And you have been essentially in also many of these development steps of the matrix. So thank you very much for your great contribution.
Thank you very much.
Finally, now another amazing friend of mine, which I admire personally and professionally, Marco Zeltner. We know each other for many years. He graduated at the University of Zurich, and he is still a faculty member, a senior faculty member of our clinic. And also Marco, he is an exceptional clinician, an exceptional friend, and he's a great, great teacher. So everybody which was listening to his lecture is an absolute fan of him, including me. So Marco, you also were one of the ones which really were inspired and so passionate about the matrix. And now we are curious about your experience, because I know you have done a lot of cases when it comes to the matrix implant. So stage is yours.
So first of all, congratulations to the whole TRI team for your creative success. So I'm very proud that I have been part of your journey, and now I'm happy to share how the matrix system has grown in our private practice. And of course, to illustrate our journey with the matrix implant, there's no better way than to take you back to the very first matrix implant we have placed in our clinic. At that time, it was a bone level implant matrix used to replace tooth number 25, which, as you can see here, had this impressively long root, I would say. So this patient had pain from a vertical root fracture splitting tooth 25, making it untreatable. I'm sorry for this bad picture, and requiring extraction. And at that time, we were already confident in the tapered design and the high primary stability of the TRI implants. And this was our preferred choice for immediate placement then, and this is still a key part of our daily practice today. So the tooth was extracted, a bone level matrix implant placed immediately. The socket was grafted, as Alex did show you, with a xenograft and covered with a resorbable membrane to contain the graft around the narrow healing abutment we had at that time. And the healing was uneventful after 10 days. And 3 months later, we performed the intraoral scan and sent the data to our lab. So our technician fabricated this beautiful monolithic zirconia crown. But please note that at that time, we always used the printed model to check the fit of the crown. And here is the clinical situation immediately after crown delivery, showing this slight zone of anemia from the insertion pressure, and also the corresponding X-ray. So this was our very first case, and I'm happy to show you also the 3 years and 5 years follow-up with the according X-ray. And notice, please, how beautifully the soft tissues have matured over time. And we see that very frequent. So the patient is still smiling, and happy patient, happy doctor. This is true, but honestly, this is nothing extraordinary. So in this case, the matrix crown was produced using essentially the same workflow we have used for other implant systems as well. And we knew that we had to make better use of the features related to the digital workflow. And we have noticed that this works even better, at least in our setup, with the tissue level matrix implants, which we use today as hybrid or multi-level implants for all our cases. And also very quickly, we gained exciting opportunities with the introduction of a system for guided implant placement. You have seen it already, and the integration of 3D printing into our workflow, allowing us to treat more cases with immediate implants and immediate loading by predictably achieving high primary stability. Here's a 55-year-old woman presented with pain caused by a palatal abscess originating from tooth 26. And as you can see in the X-ray, teeth 24 and 25 also showed apical infections. And the first step was, of course, to take a CBCT scan. On one hand, it clearly revealed this large apical infection at tooth number 26. But more importantly, however, it allowed us to plan also the guided surgery precisely. And after analyzing the situation, we decided for this case to plan 2 immediate implants similar to Alex workflow in the premolar region and to preserve the alveolar ridge in the area of tooth 26. And here you can see the clinical images and the step-by-step procedure. The teeth were, of course, if possible, extracted without flap elevation. Next, the surgical guide was placed, allowing us to perform very precise osteotomies to prepare the implant sites, stabilizing the implants apically below the sinus and also against the alveolar walls. And next, the alveolar ridge preservation was performed, as you can see. And at this point, we had already taken an optical impression with the scan bodies in place, and a designer then transferred the original prosthetic design to the implant positions. The dataset was then 3D printed, and just 1.5 hours later, a 3-unit composite bridge was ready for placement, and this with 3D printing. And then after 6 to 8 weeks, we completed the prosthetics by rescanning just the healed soft tissues, and the final monolithic zirconia 3-unit bridge made model-free in a milling center offers really a patient-friendly, painless, and very, very cost-efficient workflow, at least in Switzerland. And here is the follow-up after 3 years. Everything appears stable, and the tissues, they really look healthy. So the soft tissue really loves the highly polished zirconia in this transition zone. Joel was talking about this, and it looks aesthetically pleasing, especially the pink aesthetics. I think that such papilla architecture is hard to achieve with a conventional workflow. Of course, we also treat more demanding cases with this established workflow because we are very, very confident. Here is a patient with multiple problems in the upper jaw. First, we always go through a hygienic phase. We do the diagnostics, and after that, we were planning several implants in the anterior zone. You have seen the other speakers using the same workflow. And here's the clinical approach, which was exactly the same. So flapless extraction, flapless implant placement with tissue-level matrix implant and ridge preservation where we need it. And after scanning, the diagnostic setup was transferred to the implants, and the provisional was delivered, also 3D printed 2 hours later. And you can see in the lower row that the healing was uneventful. And also the final restoration followed the same prosthetic workflow, but this time with a veneered zirconia framework for enhanced aesthetics. And the question was, how can we further improve this established workflow? For example, we can reduce the waiting time for 3D printing by prefabricating the 3D temporary in advance, and to compensate for slight deviations in implant position. This very innovative FlexFit was developed. This is a smart movable part that attaches with a positioning screw and is fixed with some flowable composite. And here is a case with guided type 4, so meaning late implant placement, but immediate loading using FlexFit, and it works really perfectly, though it requires a little bit more chairside time. So to reduce the waiting time for 3D printing, we can also speed it up. We can speed up the design, and we can speed up the printing. And this leads me to the final case I would like to show. So here is a bank director with an untreatable tooth 46 who wanted the same day solution. And we performed a world premiere using a soon to be launched implant designed for even more predictable high primary stability, and we used the Midas 3D printer to produce the crown in under 10 minutes. But even more importantly, we designed the crown with an AI software, and it really needs just a few clicks, and within 2 to 3 minutes, we had a perfect crown. And here's the step-by-step again, flapless extraction, as you have seen it, implant placed centrally in the septum, then followed by a scan. I went upstairs, generated the crown together with Sandro at that time, We started the Midas printer, and then I went downstairs, filled the gaps with the xenograft, and on the right side, you see the temporary, and this time was a ceramic crown in place. And here is the step-by-step also in a lateral view, the healing process, and also the final prosthetic steps, including also a crown for tooth 45. So to conclude, the Matrix implant is our all-around solution with a seamless digital workflow. It's suitable for anything, as you have heard from the other speakers, from single crown to full arch reconstructions, and you can use it anywhere in the dental arch. It's versatile, it's efficient, and it's even suitable for implant-supported removal prosthetics. So we did a few cases with telescopes, with a milled bar. And to summarize, I'm still very impressed by the ability to deliver personalized prosthetics, about the option with immediate placement and loading. And to be honest, it's also everything at a very fair price for our patients. So thanks for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the journey as much as I did, and I hope it's okay for you with 8 minutes. It's so hard to tell something in 8 minutes, to be very honest.
Thank you so much, Marco, for your also great insights, because you have been really very heavily involved. And that we have a hard time to do this in 8 minutes shows how passionate we are, because we all want to actually share what we have done over the last 5 years together. And I have to say, this was for me now an exceptionalized online webinar, because we started as friends. Some of us know each other better, some of us didn't know each other that well, but over these years really grew together. And what I see now compared to what we have initiated 5 years ago is simply perfect. And I'm very proud of each of you, because each of you really contributed in his individual way to the success of this. And again, we don't just place implants, we treat human beings. And we have now found an implant which does change the workflow in a significant way. And not just to the benefit of the patient, I think also Joel said at the very beginning, it should also reduce the technical sensitivity of for the treatment of the dentist, because at the end of the day, what drives me on an everyday basis is to provide more patients globally with better care. And this is definitely an important step forward. And you guys are important key opinion leaders to bring this message all over the world. And from that, we thank you very much for your contribution, for your passion. And we all stay excited. And again, the sky is the limit. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend.